Hello, so I got a really good response to the last video on the kind of Bitwig quick tip for the resampling. So I said I'd do another quick one here. So this one is about how to make like multi-segment envelopes or MSEGs or multi-stage envelopes or whatever you want to call them. They're not available here in the modulations, but there is kind of a way of getting around it. This is also a way of saving automation clips as well, and kind of it will also allow you to do some other things like use it as a master macro. So I've just got a polysynth set up here. It's just got like a basic pluck sound. So it's just a 1-bar loop, just to be fast. So the way that you do this, a couple of you might know that you can do this, but if you add a DC offset here onto this other track, and we'll just call this track MSEG. So if we take this DC offset and we just mute this track and modulate, just modulate this DC here. So I'm not going to be too pedantic about it. Now you can do this bipolar. So the DC offset goes -1 +1. I find if you just want to do an upwards automation, the easiest thing to do is just to modulate from 0 up to 1 the plus values. So I'm just going to draw like a kind of a basic sort of a modulation here. You can do much more complicated things, but we're just going to go for an evolving feel and the pluck. So just a couple of small modulations I've made here. So now if you go onto the track that you want to modulate with this, and you add an audio rate, then you go and you select your MSEG. So now it's going to actually send that automation value that we've drawn here into this. So it's taken the value from this DC offset. So you can modulate whatever you want with this. So let's modulate the cutoff. And you can modulate anything else. So you want to maybe modulate the amount of noise. And anything you've got nested in here as well, obviously. Anything you could normally be able to modulate, you'll be able to do that in here. So we wanted to modulate the shift value. There's loads of stuff you can do with that. A couple of interesting things with that that is useful by itself, but there's multiple things you can do this. You can also use this as a like a global macro. So if you've got multiple tracks, so let's say I've got loads of more of these polysynths, and anything that I attach this to, so sync and sub or whatever, is probably going to sound awful, but let's say we play all of these. This is now essentially a global macro. So that's useful as well. The other thing that's useful about this is, so if you I put an empty clip in here, and the reason that I did that is because you can now save this to your clips menu. So if you go to your clips over here, you've got my library, your user clips. So here are some that I've saved. So you can drag and drop this in here and save it as like cool automation. Wow. You can also use this to save the automation lane. You would then have to like copy and paste it, but that's not particularly useful, I suppose. But if you wanted to do that, you can. So I'm just going to show you how easy it is to use this workflow, sort of like the Performer in Massive or something like that. So we're going to do that with everybody's favorite genre, which is dubstep. And I've just made a bass patch here, and I've made some drums. So what we're going to do is automate this with our MSEGs. So I've got one here that I've pre-made. So I'm just going to drag that in. I'll show the automation here, the DC offset automation. So I've pre-drawn that in, it's attached to the clip, and then we just come to our we insert an audio rate modulator here and select our audio effect, and then we can apply that automation to our macro. And then what's interesting is you can save like loads of little chunks of this, loads of like bar chunks or quarter or little parts, and then you can kind of splice them together. So here's like a slightly different one. So let's say we didn't like this middle section here. We can just cut out a section of this, say maybe from here to here, and then just pop that in there. So here, I don't know why that turned this on, but we'll mute that again. And then you've got a different automation clip here. Or you could even pop in some of this. Maybe you want to drag that over here. So yeah, there's like you can save as many of these as you want. Anyway, that's that tip. If you like the video, please leave a like on it and subscribe to me. Let me know that these are interesting, or if there's anything you found interesting, let me know. So yeah, this track is sounding pretty sick, so let's just master this quickly before we go.